Thank you all for joining. We're really excited today to be focusing on opportunities for women-owned businesses. So this is a really great opportunity for businesses of all types owned by women to learn a little bit more about what's out there for them, but to learn a little bit more about an organization that's here to support as well. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to our presenter today. Michelle Miller is from the Center on Women in Enterprise, and she will take it away and provide you all kinds of great content. As she's going through, if you have any questions, please feel free to post them in the chat function, and we will ask those at the end of the workshop. So we'll have a whole Q&A portion at the end of our time together. So without further ado, Michelle, take it away.
All right, welcome back. Here we go. Let's chat money. Oftentimes, this is the first question that folks have when they start reaching out for help on their business. What money's out there? How do I get money? What does that look like? I totally get it. That was one of my first questions too, and a constant question as a business owner. I do want to say that I think this particular segment is coming at an opportune place in the overall segments that we're doing together with Berkshire One and with the other conversations that you've been having so far. You really want to first make sure that your business model makes sense, that you have something that is sufficiently different from what's already out there that you can sell, that there are enough people who can pay enough money enough times, and that you know how much money it's going to cost you to get started. That will be critical to knowing how much money you need and how you're actually going to spend it down. A common reflex that, again, I very much relate to because I have been in this in these shoes, is to just want to get money. I don't know exactly how I'm going to use it yet, but I know I need money. Give me 50 grand, whatever it is. The problem with that is that even if there was a fairy godmother out there who could wave a wand and give you 50 grand, or maybe you have a rich aunt who left you a bunch of money that you can use for your business, the problem with that is that if you don't really know how to spend those dollars, you're much more likely to waste those dollars and need more money sooner. So sort out your business model first. What do you actually need? For what? How will you spend it down? And then how are you going to turn this into a money-making business that can either repay a debt or otherwise support itself to make a profit on its own moving forward? All right, so start there. As I mentioned, you gotta do your homework. Part of the business plan process, if and when you get there, is to sort out exactly how much money that you need and how to read your key financials so that you can make sure that you ask for the right amount at the right time. That said, once you know how much money you need, there are a couple of places to go and get it. One of the most common ways I see folks getting money is saving, saving a lot of money and starting really small, which, by the way, is a lesson learned for me and something that I think is really important for other folks to remember, which is to start small. If I had it all to do again, rather than just opening up a storefront and selling coffee, I would have invested in a portable espresso machine, and I would have done the pop-up model. Much cheaper to get started. Allows me to get some money in before I'm quite so in debt. Also allows me to really test and make sure that folks want what I'm trying to sell them. I could take it around to different markets and different communities and see where the need is greatest. I could start getting to know folks, start building a brand. This is advice I have for just about any entrepreneur. Start small, start getting some money in, gather the information and build on it. So bootstrapping that's what I mean by bootstrapping, is starting really small and or gathering up a bunch of savings so that you can get yourself, let me amend that. It's not necessarily a bunch of savings, especially if you do start small, as we're mentioning, right? But you want to start at a reasonable level, use your personal resources to the greatest extent possible. All right. Next, we have debt financing or borrowing from microcredit nonprofit lenders. There are folks out there who specialize in small business lending for folks who are looking to get started. Usually there is a lower credit floor, meaning you can access that capital with a lower amount of money. Sometimes it means that they provide some assistance for you once you request that money and get started. These are some really great options. And we're really fortunate here in Massachusetts because there are a lot of these guys out there. And oftentimes they work in partnership with banks, with established banks, so that you can grow with respect to how strong your business is and how it evolves in order to be ready for formal lending. The next one I'm going to talk more about in the next couple of slides, but crowdfunding is a really powerful, really cool tool for getting this started. You could also get some debt financing from banks to an extent. Traditional banks, they will finance startups here and there, and certainly they're great to start your business bank account and start developing a relationship with local banks. Oftentimes, for your initial money to get you started, you may not be talking about a loan from a bank. That's why the asterisk is there. You may be talking about getting a loan from a microcredit lender. You may be talking about saving some reserves, something like that. Angel investors and venture capitalists, great ways to get money. They do tend to look for businesses that are going to turn a very significant profit very quickly, and oftentimes they're looking for a share of the business as well. So it's good to know about. It is out there. May or may not be the right fit for you, but certainly if it is, let us know, and we'll be glad to think through it. And lastly here, before I move back to the crowdfunding piece, is grants. This is an FAQ that we get, right? Where are the grants out there for women-run firms? Unfortunately, that's not really a thing. Most grants that are out there are for for-profit enterprises, businesses that are established, running, or excuse me, not necessarily, but they're for not-for-profit businesses. If you're a for-profit, chances are there's not going to be a lot of grant money out there. You might get fortunate with some sort of a local development program. Sometimes local economic development departments of cities and towns will have small pockets of money that they can invest for improving your storefront or something like that, because it helps with it helps the city or town to grow. Otherwise, grants really aren't very frequent. The last exception to the grant question that I'll mention is some of the COVID-specific supports that have come out over the last year with the pandemic. There have been some grants that have been geared towards existing businesses, meaning businesses that were up and running pre-pandemic, who were impacted by the pandemic, can get some money in order to get back on their feet. So let's chat a little bit about crowdfunding here. Now, there are a few examples of crowdfunding that we don't have time to get into today, but I would love, when you get these slides later, these are all clickable, click on them. You can see some really amazing examples of crowdfunding. Let me start with the definition here of what crowdfunding is. Crowdfunding is the idea of getting small amounts of money from lots of people that can help you to reach your financial goals. This is not a grant, meaning there are costs associated with getting it, but it is typically not money that you have to pay back. So the idea behind crowdfunding, folks are often familiar with some of the key crowdfunding platforms like Kickstarter or GoFundMe. There's also iFundWomen of Color. These are platforms that help women and women of color access capital. So you can click through these and see some examples, but I'm going to start with that first one just so that you can see an example of what crowdfunding looks like. So here is a project from, hoping you can see this, I believe you can. This is a project called the Female Athlete Grant. I don't have time to show you the video today, but I do encourage you to go there and check out the video. This person's trying to start a line of clothing to promote athleticism and to really get past this narrative of athletes defaulting to being male, and then some of them happen to be female, right? So a female athlete, it's helping to move past that narrative to a more inclusive definition of the term athlete. What this looks like, say you want to go start a crowdfunding campaign for yourself, you pick a platform, could be iFundWomen like this is, could be Kickstarter, could be GoFundMe. And usually there's a little button that says start a campaign. And you go in, and this is just a template. If anyone's ever built a website or anything, you just go in and you insert the numbers that you are looking for here. This particular person was looking for $25,000. They ended up getting up to 27, which is phenomenal with only 6 funders. Pretty amazing. Basically, what this person did is she opened a template. She created a short video. We may actually have time to show this video. I hope we do. But they created then just a little pitch. They said, here's who we are, here's where we are, here are the links to our socials. It's all in a template. They didn't create this. They just inserted things into the blocks. They talked a little bit about some rewards that are available, excuse me. Hey, if you give us $5, here's what we're going to offer you. Here's what we do. Give us $100. Here's what we'll do for you. The idea with these incentives is to encourage folks to give a little bit more in order to make this project happen. There are some fees, as I mentioned, associated with this. Every platform is a little bit different. So when you're picking your platform, and do feel free to reach out to me if you want to think through some of this stuff. But when you're thinking through your platform, you want to think about what those fees are. Usually it's per credit card transaction. Sometimes they're looking for, sometimes platforms will allow you to keep the money that you raise, even if you don't meet whatever goal it is that you have. Where's our goal? Here it is. Other organizations will not. If you don't meet your goal, they'll send all the money back to all your contributors. A couple other little things like that. So there's a good amount of strategy that's involved in crowdfunding. And I'm more than happy to chat with you about it. But I encourage you to start with those video links that are there and explore. Each of these platforms is going to have their favorite sites that they can show you. So real quick here, I hope this is going to work. I'm going to show you this video just as one example of how crowdfunding commonly works.
Unfortunately, we can't get the audio on this end.
Darn, audio's not coming through, sounds like. Sorry about that. I'm not sure how else to make the audio come through. So what I'll do instead is just encourage you all to follow this link. It's in that slide, and you can watch the video. But basically what we have here is we've got, it's just under 2 minutes. The founder, Esther, talks about what she's built and what it looks like, why she's looking for your money. This is a phenomenal way for entrepreneurs, including women, to get money for their businesses. A lot of times when we start chatting about crowdfunding as a possibility, folks get a little nervous. Sometimes they think that we're talking about asking for charity or something along those lines. But really, no, the idea of an effective crowdfunding campaign talks about a need in the marketplace that you're going to come in and you're going to fill, and you need their support. So not only is this a great way to get pretty inexpensive money, it does take time and effort to build this up. You want to make sure you have established social media platforms, things like this. But this is also a really great way to ensure that $1 million question that folks want what you're trying to sell them. If folks want whatever it is you're trying to develop or build, they're very likely to invest in your crowdfunding platform. All right, so I'm gonna head back over to our slides. Sorry you couldn't hear that audio, folks, but I do hope that you can check through those links and take some cool examples of crowdfunding. It's a really, really powerful tool for entrepreneurs to get started. Now, by the way, it's not only for folks to get started, it can also be for folks to grow. I have a couple of folks that I know of who have developed product lines, and they get money multiple times to bring out new product lines. Now, I want to be clear that this is not an easy way to get money. The fact that it's relatively inexpensive money, meaning those platform fees are relatively low and you don't have to pay it back, it's not easy. I want to be very upfront with you that there's no easy way to just get buckets of money for your business. So either we're talking about getting a loan, some sort of capital from an organization, or we're talking about spending some time building out a really great campaign with a cool video where you tell your story, where you build up your social media presence, and you spread it out there to raise some money that way. Please do reach out if you have any questions on crowdfunding, if you'd like to see any more examples. This is a really cool tool for entrepreneurs. All right. Now that brings us to the end of this segment. So I'm going to pause a few moments before we kick off our last segment here today.